If you are a faith-based homeschool parent, I have a question for you. Why do you homeschool? What's the purpose? Why do you provide home education for your children? What's the purpose? What's it all for? What's the ultimate outcome that you expect or hope for? I found that most parents are a bit nearsighted when it comes to this question. They think about what's best for my child right now when they are the age that they are right now. And I've found that many parents today are just a bit too nearsighted. Their focus is really on the goal of graduation, at which time you believe your job will be done. Mission accomplished, finished, the end, happily ever after. But I challenge you today, parents, to recognize that the target is actually situated much farther down the field, way past the cap and gown zone. You're going to need to use a telescope for this, because all the time and energy and resources that you have been pouring into your children is intended for use. It's intended for use. What do I mean by that? Well, thus far, your children have been living a mostly private life that's centered around the home, close relatives and friends, perhaps neighbors, other homeschool families, church members. But at some point, they'll be taking who they are out into the world, and they'll be beginning their public life. When I work with young adults, I say to them, the inner you is about to meet the outer you, because their private life is soon going to enlarge into their public life. Think about it this way. Moms and dads, when we were in our mother's womb, we were unseen, growing and developing in private. Now, your mother knew that you were in there for sure, but exactly who you were was still hidden. It was still private. What color your eyes would be, what color your hair would be. Were you male or female? Were you going to be a petite build or very sturdy framed? Were you going to be quiet natured or a real forceful personality? Introvert or extrovert? Left brained or right brained? All of these characteristics were known by God while you were still living this secret life, this private life. Your unique traits were hidden from your parents, but they were not hidden from the Creator. The psalmist acknowledges this. Psalms 139, 13 through 16 says, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." God knew us long before our parents knew us. And then when the time came, you made your dramatic entrance into the world. You exited that hidden, protected, private existence. Your life was extended beyond your mother's womb, and you became part of a greater, larger world. You couldn't stay in there forever because who you are was intended for this world. It was intended for use. And then again, when you were approaching adulthood, your life was extended outward again from your mostly private life, that is your life at home, into your public life, that is your life in the world. So in essence, you were born again. You were called to come out, to see and be seen by the world for the unique person that you are, and to do in the world what you were made to do. And that, moms and dads, is what your children will soon do. Their calling is to do what they were designed to do. They will deploy all their unique traits given to them by God while they were still hidden in the womb to build their own life and to contribute to the community. Because those traits are gifts that were intended for use. Intended for use. It's not just about finding a job or choosing a career, but really figuring out how to apply in the public sphere their unique combination of interests, personality, skills, talents, their whole way of being. That is their vocation. Their vocation. Figuring out how to apply their unique combination of traits and their way of being. That is your child's vocation. The root word of vocation is a Latin word, vocare, which means a summons or a call. It's very similar to our English word for voice. So your child finding their vocation means hearing God's voice, hearing God's summons, hearing Him calling them a certain direction based on the way that He made them. Soon, this little seed of who they are will begin to sprout, and the sprout will break through the soil where it's been hidden in private for some time, and it's going to begin to stretch and expand and strengthen and reach upward. Speaking of seeds, the same creator that made people also made trees. And scientists tell us that there are two general categories of trees: deciduous and coniferous. Two types, just like two types of people, male and female. But within those two general categories, God made thousands of different species of trees. In fact, researchers have compiled a global database of tree species, which includes over 60,000 different species of trees. And that's just the ones that are known and identified as being distinct from one another. Just like people, trees communicate, they eat, they drink, they actually exist in families, they can adapt, they thrive, but they eventually die. In fact, FYI, trees live on an entirely different time scale than we do. You may have heard it said that 1 year for us is 7 years for a dog. Well, trees can outlive us by far. A minute for a human can be a year for a tree, which I think puts all of our silly worries into perspective, doesn't it? Now, God could have made just a few different species of trees, but instead He made over 60,000. So what does this reveal about God's character? What it reveals is that God loves variety, complexity, diversity, different functions, different forms of beauty. He made each species of tree with their own special value and their own unique combination of traits and their own contribution to nature. And each one of those trees is intended for use in God's master plan. There are no mistake trees. He made them all, and He made them all distinct and different, all intended for use in His master plan. And in the same way, He made our children unique and distinct human beings with a variety and a diversity of gifts. Now, our children do need help with gaining the awareness of those gifts, who they are, how they're made. Young people need a really solid understanding of themselves, of their strengths and weaknesses, their defining character traits, their preferences, their work style, the kind of environments that suit them best, and what their motivations are. Knowing what kind of tree they are really does matter, because they're going to have to discover how who they are fits into an occupation. In what kind of forest will that tree grow best? And as parents and grandparents, we can help them by contributing to their self-knowledge. We can help them understand what kind of tree they might be. We can point out a child's natural gifts, name and describe those assets, and help them explore how their unique combination of characteristics might someday translate into a certain type of occupation. It must be done without judgment or pressure, because remember, this is your child's calling, their vocation, not yours, and it might look different than you expected or intended. It also might be difficult to watch them struggling to figure things out, to know who they are, to discern their calling out there in a world of strangers. But the Bible tells us that those people aren't actually strangers. They are, in fact, our neighbors. The public is made up of all the other people who were created by God. So you see, the God that we connect with in our private life is also in the business of connecting us with each other in our public life. And the recipients of your child's gifts and assets will be those fellow human beings in the community. What God put within your child is intended for use, and we can trust Him to lead the way, because Father knows best.